Hey everyone, John from Nintendo Life here, and I am joined by Alex Ollie.
Hello.
And I'm also joined by Mr. Xeon.
I'm so excited to be here.
There was an amazing amount of hesitation then. I'm so.
John has to go put like a Yoshi sound there because I pretended I swore, but I didn't actually have the guts to swear.
No, we're all a bit too hesitant. But speaking of hesitation, we're out of our depth today because we're usually talking about video games, but we're not going to do that today. Well, we'll see.
Nope.
Maybe we'll mention them once or twice, but primarily we're talking about things that we do outside of video games, outside of this channel. By the end of this video, you will know us. You will know who we are. You will know who we're not. You will know our fears. You will know our weaknesses. Let's go on this roller coaster. Let's take a little journey.
Alex, I just want to quick let you know that John was telling me before this chat happened earlier that if he doesn't talk about video games for, I think if he said somewhere around like a 20-minute, 30-minute span that he will explode. So we need to keep this chat semi short so that way John survives, or at least slip one video game thing in at one point, John. Yeah, because
there's a lot of trivia in here, and if I don't speak about something for at least half an hour, I die.
That's tragic.
The doctor said the same. He didn't give me any advice. I said, "Doc, please help me." He went, "Oh, tragic."
This is basically like a bonus Patreon video where it's just completely unrelated stuff, but it's kind of like it's a bonus video, but we don't have a Patreon, so you're just getting it anyway.
Yeah.
You got it for free. Lucky old you.
Yeah, what value?
You're right. There's no Nintendo news. There's really nothing Nintendo about this video except for us and
the fact that we keep mentioning how there's nothing Nintendo about it.
I'm not even wearing a Nintendo Life shirt right now. Trunks from Dragon Ball Z is on my shirt.
I'm not wearing a shirt right now.
I'm not wearing a shirt or trousers. I'm wearing a dressing gown.
All right, everyone, turn on your cameras.
I've got boxers on. It's all above board and above the knee.
I mean, if we're being honest, I'm wearing the same pants that I've been wearing for the past 3 days. So, but that's work from home life, right?
The context of that differs so greatly depending on your interpretation of pants. Because like here in the UK, I'm sure you know that pants are like underwear for us.
Definitely not that one. Don't worry.
Just really, really don't want to do the washing. Yeah. John, what's your favourite thing to do when you're not playing video games?
So this is actually quite a hard question now, because as I'm sure some of our audience knows, you might not know, because I don't really bring this up in videos, but I'm a daddy. I'm Daddy John. And
that's what I call you anyway.
That's absolutely going to get clipped. Just John, John saying, "I'm Daddy John." But go ahead, I'm sorry.
So yeah, November last year I had a baby.
Daddy John.
God. So yes, in November last year I had a baby. 9 months before that I was dealing with the pregnant woman. So these last almost 2 years-ish of my life kind of been dedicated to taking care of the unborn baby and then the born baby. And that drastically changes everything. So like my days nowadays, I finish work and I kind of spend my time with the baby, like from like 5 until however long, until the baby decides to fall asleep. Sometimes that's 8. It's a great day when it's 8. It's usually not 8. Last night it was like midnight. Sometimes it's 1 in the morning. So I don't really have a lot of time to go out and have a hobby anymore. My life is gone. My life's ended. Sometimes when she goes to bed early, I get to watch anime, which is something I usually like to do before I had a baby. And I don't really get to do that anymore though, because the TV's always occupied by Bluey, which is a great show. It's a great kids show. Sometimes Peppa Pig. That's not as good. So I don't get to go out and go to like live music, which I like to do before I had a baby as well. Those days are behind me. Although last night, I was saying this to Xeon just now, I couldn't sleep last night. So I went to bed around midnight when the baby was asleep, and I just couldn't sleep. My head was on the pillow, and my eyes were wide awake. So I went downstairs and just watched Evangelion Rebuild, which is the movie of Evangelion, and I had a good time with that until about 2 in the morning. So my hobby is being tired, I'd say.
That's certainly a hobby. It's one that you clearly seem to have dedicated an awful lot of time to.
Yeah, it's hard to get as tired as I am. When I was younger, though, I had a lot more interests. I was really into running, and when I was in primary school, I held the record for the entire school record for the entirety of the school's duration for the 100-meter sprint.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's kind of neat.
Done.
I did a lot of long distance running, and I got to a certain age where I just went, I don't want to run anymore. So I just stopped doing anything like that.
That sounds like a movie.
And I was also a theatre kid as well at one point, and I was cast. I was a theatre kid who didn't like singing because I can't sing. I just like the acting portion. And one day I was sick, so I didn't go into drama class. And I came back the next day, and they cast me in a High School Musical production as I forget the character's name, but it's the antagonist. Is it like Sharpay or something?
Bonito the Clown.
That's not the one. I was cast as her like second in command, and they have a duet together, and I cannot sing. It was awful, so I quit drama after that. But I did a lot of like productions and plays and things in my younger years too.
Oh man, we're gonna have to dig up some of these to slap in the background of this video, John.
We'll see. There's probably some pictures somewhere.
I don't want to get people too interested, but there is still footage of me on YouTube from when I was in school and when I was doing drama, in a brief video that I did with some friends. I'm not going to say the title because I was about to say you'll find it. You won't actually, but I'm still not going to say it. But yeah, there is footage of 14, 15, 16-year-old me in drama acting like a complete pillock. And my name's spelt wrong, which is great because it was my friend who edited it. And I thought they knew me.
How do you spell Alex wrong? Like, as in like Alyx?
No, my surname.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes more sense.
I mean, it gets misspelled about 16 times a day, so, you know. But even then, you know, it's my friend. Come on. I expected more.
Well, I don't do any acting anymore. I met my partner through drama club, and that was in 2008, and we got together in 2009. And I think it's our 12th year anniversary this year. So we settled down very early.
I met my partner Sasha through bowling, if you can believe it. I was part of a social group, as was her. Yeah, and we just went to this bowling night and we met and we got talking. And then I tried desperately to get her to sit next to me in Pizza Hut afterwards. And she has admitted to me that she tried to sit next to me as well. And we succeeded. She was seeing someone else at the time. So that was... a little bit. It was a complicated. I'm not going to get into details, but it was a complicated situation. And if anyone's thinking, "Oh, he must really be into bowling," I've literally never bowled since. And that was like
I love bowling.
5.5, nearly 6 years ago.
The hut brings people together.
It does.
Praise the hut.
It was it was just weird that we happened to meet through that. I think we were technically at a different event at the same time as well. But it was a crowded event. We just didn't see each other. But same social group, different situation. But yeah, we met and now we live together and we've got 2 beautiful cats.
This sounds like the introduction to a movie of like how some characters would meet in a film, like at some like there's this movie that I love called The Beginners, and it stars Ewan McGregor. And I can't remember the other girl, but him and this
the other
character.
girl, Ewan McGregor, the girl, and the other girl.
Yeah, the other. I meant to say the other actor. But yeah, they meet at a party, and it's obviously I wasn't there for the bowling event where you met, but I'm picturing it.
You weren't there?
I'm picturing it like that. I wish
John was there.
I would have been there with a camera uploading this to YouTube. Alex only. They meet.
You spell his last name wrong.
Exactly. He's just fuming at his desk.
How did you meet your partner, Xeon?
So we met. So we both went to the same middle school, elementary school, or not college because I didn't go to college, but high school. We've known each other for years, and but the way that we really like connected was back. I think for me, like my first memory is probably like at the beginning of high school, so like 8th grade, maybe 7th grade. But we used to go to Faith Formation or CCD class, which was like our Catholic the school that our parents would make us go to every Wednesday after school, or maybe it was like around 5 o'clock or something. But regardless, so we were both in the same CCD class, and we both like were just always goofing around in class. We just didn't really. I feel bad if my grandparents and my mom's listening to this, but we just didn't pay attention a lot. And but so yeah, like we used. I think there were
Zion, we're the same person.
there were a few moments where we would like sit next to each other and like we would draw stupid stuff. Like I still actually have a drawing that her and I did of just like I was drawing a bunch of Triforces, and I think I drew. Oh, she drew like Master Shake because I was obsessed with Aqua Teen Hunger Force around this time, and I think I drew like a Master Sword because I pretty much could only draw something that was related to a redacted word. So, but yeah, so we met in that, and I also used to skateboard back in high school, and I never was very good. Like I could ollie and maybe grind, but I never could consistently pull off a kickflip or any really
You were
flips.
never Tony Hawk.
No, as much as I watched his VHS tapes and would skate on like a blank board without like wheels and trucks in my grandparents' living room on their carpet.
That's adorable.
And I can't even believe they'd let me do it.
Is there footage of that on YouTube?
No, but I bet my grandma has footage of that.
You bet your whole grandmother.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'll bet her. Absolutely, that's how much I believe.
Never bet your grandma.
But what if she wanted me to?
The stakes are too high.
But Grandma and Grandpa love gambling. They wouldn't blame me. But yeah, I'm talking way too much about the CCD portion. But yeah, basically we met through high school, and we've been friends, really close friends, basically throughout the years. And then I was like, oh yeah, we just had our 4th anniversary. Our fourth
congratulations!
Year. Thanks. And it's pretty crazy because it's always weird to admit this, especially to like a large audience of people now. But I've like always had like a crush on her, and was just like never able to. Yeah, and so it's even cooler. So, but I bet like you guys get that too. You know, I mean maybe not Alex because the night that you met Sasha, like. You know, it things worked out from then on, but
yeah,
John probably gets that
I was
too.
very forward. I was like, "Hey, baby, you want some?" No, I wasn't. I just said, "Hey, I think you're really cool. Should we go out somewhere?" She's like, "I've got a boyfriend, but okay."
Well, do you want to go get some pizza anyways? I'm pretty hungry.
No, we did have pizza on our first date. We went to this Italian restaurant because we both lived in Swindon. We both still do. And we went to this Italian restaurant. Anyone from Swindon will know it. It was near the outlet village. And we found out afterwards, or at least we caught a whisper on the wind, that it was a front for organised crime.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know how true that is. You know how it is when you just hear whispers and stuff like that. But it did close down. You know, sort of like maybe not even a year later. I lose track. But yeah, you know. And then the rest is history, as they say. Although actually it's currently the present, because we're still together.
I'm just curious. You didn't happen to walk up to her in the moment. Like your first line definitely wasn't, "Hey, what if we kissed on the Wii Sports bowling alley lane?" Haha, JK. Unless you didn't pull that one on her, right? The classic line.
No, I had to fight the urge. I really did, yeah. But
you had to fight it. That's good.
It was it was good. It was honestly, if there's anyone out there with like who wants relationship advice, be respectful, be sort of tasteful, but be honest and straightforward. I think that's about the best advice I can give. Just don't, sort of pussyfoot around things. Be clear and apparent. And if you get, turned away, don't take it personally. At the end of the day, if they turn you down, it was never going to work anyway. So just find the next piece of something that you desire.
Like pizza.
I just said be respectful and then said find the next piece of something that you desire.
You had good intentions with what you were saying.
I had good intentions and I fell into meme territory.
Yeah, get some bacon bits from the buffet. You'll be fine.
So speaking of things...
Those are suitable for vegetarians because they contain no bacon. Yeah.
Is that so?
Yeah, it's the same with smoky bacon flavor crisps. They're vegetarian, but cheese and onion flavor crisps aren't.
Wait, you're talking about like the little dried out bacon bits that people sprinkle on like salads and stuff?
Yeah, they're sort
That's
of
the one.
crunchy and sort of, well, they're clearly wheat-based. They're not actually bacon, because then you've got lardons, which are about 4,000 times nicer.
I had no idea.
Well, I mean, don't take this as read. Don't go out and buy all the bacon bits you can.
I'm gonna go out and buy all the
guzzle them.
bacon bits I can.
Just, check the label. That's
Okay,
good
okay.
advice
I'm gonna look into
for
that, though.
any situation. Is that apple suitable for vegetarians? Always best to check. A lot of wine isn't suitable for vegetarians because they use a fining agent, which is made from fish, if you can believe it. The thing is, there's plenty of other alternatives. A lot of beer as well also contains the same thing, but you can use something called Irish moss, which I believe is a kind of seaweed. I'm going to look it up now, so get ready to hear the tippity typing.
While you're typing quick, there doesn't happen to be like a chemical that I could purchase that, like let's say I go to a bar, I get a pint, and then I say, hold on, I got to check this first, and then I pull out like a vial and like, put a drop in the beer, and then like it turns red to tell me that there's definitely animal byproducts in it, and it turns blue if it's safe, and then I reject it, or I go, all right,
I think
good to go.
bacon bits do that. You put a bacon bit in, if it turns blue, no way, baby.
Nice. Gosh,
In all
another
seriousness,
perfect use.
I don't think there is anything, no, or at least because I think the problem is that you could say, oh, just look for proteins, but there's loads of protein in beer. Actually, that doesn't mean it's a health drink, but it is
Really?
just it's got loads of proteins in it. But yeah, no, I checked Irish moss. It's not a seaweed, it's an algae. So I was close, but no cigar. And that's what I use in my beer. So it's all vegetarian. In fact, I think it's vegan because I stopped putting eggs in. I never put eggs in my beer. Eggs are not in beer. The eggs are not in beer. Actually, to be fair, it's a coagulant, so you could use it potentially as a fining agent, but don't. It's easier to just use.
I mean, given it's a health drink rich in protein, putting an egg in is only going to double the protein, right?
Absolutely. This is one thing. Xeon, when you think of gravy, describe to me the liquid that you see, presuming it is a liquid.
So I guess I normally think of like, I've been a vegetarian for like 10 years now, and
yes, I've just realized you're probably not the best person to ask.
But this is still a fair question because I love gravy, but I usually don't get to eat the normal gravy. It's normally like a mushroom gravy or something that was made right. Yes, same.
Mushrooms are great.
But I
want to get into foraging properly. I've started dabbling in it because I'm one of these people where I have like 50 different hobbies and I never have time to do any of them. I'm one of those hobby collectors. Foraging's my newest one.
I mean, at least you cook though as well, so like you have the you have the practical application to use it. Fallon, my girlfriend, she was I think she worked with somebody who she worked with somebody who was dating a guy that actually was like a professional forager, I guess, and he had a restaurant that he cooked at, and he would go out and forage, and I don't know if this was like a once a week sort of deal, but he would forage for things, and then he would make a meal with. I mean, it wasn't just the things that he found, but he would utilize them in his dish, and his dishes would be different every week. And she's always like told me stories about how cool some of his plates were, and but that's the only like time I've really heard of somebody like foraging in like a practical application. But it sounds fun, to just like go out and find like pull things from the earth and then make them versus just going to the store. Have you tried it before or?
It just in very small ways. I've done things like blackberries are really common. Everyone does that. It's technically foraging, but it's so obvious what a blackberry is that there's no skill to it. It's really simple, and that's not belittling it. I love blackberries, but the same with elderberries, and I've done elderflower as well. And I foraged elderflower when I was a lot younger. I was still living with my parents, and I wanted to make elderflower cordial, and it didn't turn out very well. But when I first started, I was like, okay, I'm looking for elderflower, and I started picking a load of stuff. And then I think it was my mum said, "Is that actually elderflower?" And I was like, "Yeah, look at it. It's all like this." And she's like, "But it's growing from the ground." And I was like, "Is it?" And didn't really think anything of it. I was just like, "Oh," when my mum said, "Oh, it's probably just cow parsley. You don't want that. You want the stuff that's growing from above." And it's like, "Okay, yeah." And I got a load of elderflowers, and I, made the elderflower cordial. It could have been cow parsley that I picked, or it could have been one of the most poisonous plants in the country. There's something called, you may have heard of hemlock.
Mm-hmm.
Hemlock looks a lot like cow parsley. Also, something called hemlock water dropwort looks even more like cow parsley, or at least they all look very similar. They're all umbellifers, as it's called. And hemlock water dropwort, if you consume it and you're on your own, or if you're with a group and everyone consumes it, you're basically dead, because you won't be able to call for help because it causes all of the muscles in your body, including your heart, to constrict, which means that you can't physically call out for help and you can't physically call the emergency services. So be careful. You're actually far more likely to fall ill, to become, poisoned if you pick a random leafy plant in, at least in this country, compared to a mushroom or a fungus of some description. Because there are way more toxic plants out there than there are fungi.
Do you think if I told the hemlock that I was a vegetarian before I cooked it, that it would take pity on me and it wouldn't poison me?
No.
Yeah,
no.
I think it would.
It would drop its guard. Yeah.
I am kind of interested in how you became a vegetarian.
Yeah.
You said you've been one for 10 years. My sister's a vegetarian, and what turned her was the episode of The Simpsons where Lisa becomes a vegetarian.
Oh, I've never seen this.
That was like when she was a kid. So 10 years ago you're still you're forming into adulthood. So what was the turning point for you?
Yeah, I'm gonna write down the Simpsons vegetarian episode because on my list of you guys recommend shows and episodes to me all the time, and one of these days I'm going to watch them. But so everybody's aware, I have Over the Garden Wall on my list right now. Who Killed Captain Alex? Now I have Simpsons vegetarian episode.
It's called Lisa the Vegetarian.
Lisa the.
I don't think you'd struggle to find it, to be honest, by googling Simpsons vegetarian. But
that's fair.
More than anything, I just wanted to prove how I know the name of the episode.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that you actually know it. And then I have Runaway Brain, which that's a Mickey Mouse episode, right? Or
I was going to say, that's not a Simpsons episode, or at least it's not from the original 9 series. Even the 9th series isn't great. Anyway, sorry, we were asking how you became a vegetarian.
No worries. I was about to change the subject. Yeah. I mean, we talk about the Simpsons enough that I should just start watching it, especially for living
I think you should. Yeah.
Right next to. I live next to Springfield, which is.
You do? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's I've told you about this before too, and I'm sidetracking right now, and I'll get back to the vegetarian thing. But there are Simpsons murals everywhere. So if you guys ever come to visit, we'll take a tour. There's even downtown in Springfield, in one of the buildings, we saw there's a recreation of the couch that they all sit on, and there's plastic versions. It looks like something you'd see in a McDonald's or a play area or something. It's nice quality, but it's not very artistic. But we'll do a Simpsons tour. Okay, but so I became a vegetarian when I was. So I always forget the time, how long. I'm not as good at math as you are, John, especially today. And but I've been a vegetarian since I think 2008, maybe 2009. And I had a friend that was a vegan. He was pretty into it, and he also, in a good way, he liked to push it on friends. He wasn't too actually he was kind of a bit of a stinker, with people sometimes, but I think it was all out of good. He wasn't he didn't look down upon people that weren't. He just was always trying to get his friends to join his cause, but this was also the era where I was a scene kid. I was into metal and skateboarding, and PETA was so into getting the metal kids to try and rally and get more people into being vegetarians. So I remember the vocalist of Bring Me the Horizon, I think Ollie Sykes. I'm pretty sure he was one of their spokespersons, I suppose. And
I think I remember him. Yeah, he totally was.
Yeah, was he? Okay. And so I remember there was that was kind of like an era where I think a lot of kids in our realm were like deciding to, make the change or whatever. And so I had a lot of friends that were vegetarian or were giving it a shot. And I think there was one night where I just watched a bunch of PETA videos or even just like Animal Liberation Front videos as well. And I watched a bunch, and like the next morning I went for breakfast with my grandparents and my brother out at like we went to a breakfast buffet. And I remember seeing like just a tray of sausages and another tray of bacon. And I was just like, I'm just not going to eat this today. And I don't think my grandparents questioned it in the day. I don't think they noticed. But then I ended up telling some friends, and some friends were really into it. Like, they were really happy for me, like, giving it a shot. And some were not. Some friends were really mean. Like, I had one friend tell me that they were gonna. I'm gonna censor this.
Unfriend you on MySpace.
Dude, that was the time. That was totally. I probably had like vegetarian in my MySpace like bio or something at the very least.
When you load the page, you get some music that goes, "Don't eat meat."
I'll skip the story of what my friend said because it was just pretty mean. But yeah, like, some of them were really nice, some were jerks, and I remember my grandparents at the time too thought it was kind of a phase. But my grandpa would still take me to the grocery store and like buy me veggie burgers, and he was really cool about it, even though I think he thought it was going to be a 6-month thing. And then I basically just gotten to the point now where when I like look at a menu, I just don't really see meat as an option. Like it's not really a craving anymore, even though I still miss like eating fish, especially like, but I don't ever, like, it's not like, so when I've been trying to not drink soda for the past like 6 months, and I've been doing pretty good about it. And, but sometimes I'll still look at I'll look at a Mountain Dew and I'll be like, man, that looks really good right now. I never do that with actual meat anymore now. And so it's like
it just sounded like Mountain Dew is meat, but it's not real meat, so you don't get the crave. You get a crave.
Yeah, well, I guess I just know that there's
Dew
people out there.
People.
There's people out there that I've talked to before that are like, oh, I could never get rid of bacon, or I could never get rid of like eating steak, or I love a burger, and I guess all I'm trying to say in that regard is I think if you are interested in becoming a vegetarian, give it a shot. I would say, and in the beginning it's fairly tough. I think it can be tough to ignore the things that you used to eat before, but eventually, like, it gets better. And yes, I've been one for so long now that it's like, oh, of course you can forget about it, of course you can put it out of your mind. But yeah, and I'm not the type ever to look down upon someone for not eating meat, or be mad at them for trying and failing or something like that, because at the end of the day, even if you try it, like if you go a few months without eating meat, that's still like to be applauded, because you gave it a shot. And think of all the animals that didn't get eaten during that time by you. So yeah, I'm not like a crazy, like, passionate vegetarian. I just do it because cause it makes me feel better. It makes me feel good to not eat cow, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thanks.
Where do you stand on the consumption of meat, John?
I don't really have any differences in dietary standards. I basically eat anything. But I do love animals, though, is the thing. And I don't, like, there's certain meats I will not eat. I don't like the idea of veal or something like that.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I wouldn't say, I'm not like a passionate meat eater. I'm someone who I like burgers, I like bacon, things like that. But I wouldn't eat, like, every single meal, And sometimes I do think of the animals that are part of it too, and it does kind of go like, maybe I should order something else. But no, yeah, I'm very vanilla on that kind of stuff.
I think before I don't know if you have anything you want to say too, Alex, but I think one thing for me that makes just being a vegetarian a lot easier as well is that I've never been into steak. I'm not even like a big. I was never
been in a steak.
Like I think I had one once and just wasn't. Yeah.
Help! I'm in a steak.
Dang it. But yeah, like any like as I think it was the veal thing that you brought up, like there's never been I was always a very basic meat eater. You know, like I loved burgers. I liked Friday night fish fry was what we would do in Wisconsin. I liked that for a brief period of life, but yeah, I was never like in love with any particular meals as far as that goes. And in the modern age too, you know, we have so many Beyond products, which I understand are not. They take a lot of resources to make, and so I don't know how sustainable that is for the future. But we just have so many options now that it feels like I can go to a restaurant here in the city that I live in, and I can get a burger that is like close enough to like I can't remember if I've told you guys this or not, but the first time I had an Impossible Burger, I almost cried because it was just so nostalgic, and it was so bizarre. I was losing it. Because it had been like 9 or 10 years since I had a burger, but just the options in you know the day that we live in now is so vast for vegetarians and stuff. But yeah, did you have anything you wanted to say about that too, Alex, or do you want to pick up another topic?
I mean,
I feel like I threw up about vegetarian stuff for a long time.
I mean, I eat meat, but I must admit, since I suppose the past sort of 2-3 years, I've cut down my meat consumption a lot. And part of that is ethical, and part of that is just practicality. And, you know, at the end of the day, I don't need to eat meat every meal. For a long time, I did have that mentality, and I don't think that's super uncommon. It's becoming less and less common overall, which I think is a good thing. But there is, as you were saying, there are so many other options out there now. Really good vegetarian options that, yeah, sometimes I'll have a vegetarian option and be, you know, and sometimes even prefer it to meat. I went to a Nepalese restaurant a while ago, and I had this sort of mixed thing, and it had meat in it, but it was all these sort of little different sort of like mini portions of things. So you get a little taste of everything, and there was yogurt and some lentils, and there was this buffalo, I think, and this little portion of vegetables. And the buffalo was to die for, don't get me wrong. But I think just because I'm so used to having the sort of quote-unquote curried meats, having the vegetables, I actually preferred them over the meat. And the next time I went there, I still got meat, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I can, you know, we will have, I think during the week, Sasha and I will have maybe 2 meals with meat in them. Like main meals, like, you know, just, you know, we'll have occasionally we'll have like a chicken Kiev or something, which there's no way around it. They're not ethical. It's never high quality chicken, but whenever we do buy meat, we always try and get it at least as ethically as possible within really cool. Within our means. Mm-hmm. For example, we had bacon this morning, which needed eating after my birthday, and it was dry cure, and it was what is it? It was outdoor bread, which is about as good as you can get in this country for pork. Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, and whenever the goose we've got coming for Christmas, I think this comes out after Christmas, this video, doesn't it?
I don't even remember.
So
I can't remember.
Let us know comments.
We've ordered a goose, and it was bloody expensive, but it's a complete free-range goose, and it's going to be huge as well. Like, I wanted like a 4 kilo or like 3 kilo ideally bird, because I've got 7 people hosting for Christmas. They had run out, so I had to get a 5 kilo bird. And when I say 5 kilo, I mean it will be between 5 and 6 kilos.
That's a big bird.
It's a big old bird. We're going to get a lot of use out of it. But yeah, I don't eat meat nearly as much as I used to. And I think it's the sort of thing where I think if I had to become a vegetarian for, you know, maybe I moved to a different country or something, you know, and eating meat was frowned upon. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but places exist, you know, there's all sorts of different cultures in the world, or I had to for my health or something. Sure. I'd miss it, but I could do it, and I don't think I would have said that a couple of years ago.
That's really cool, and it's cool to hear that you think that you've, like, because I've encountered so many people in my life that I've gotten to the point where I don't even tell people I'm a vegetarian because it just it brings up conversations that maybe I just don't always enjoy them. This has been great, chatting with you guys about it. But yeah, sometimes I'll encounter someone that's like, I could never do that, and it's just. What do you say to that? Do I argue with them and tell them that no, you if you put in the effort and you think about it hard enough, do I tell them that? No, I usually don't. But it's cool to know that you've seen change in yourself even. So that's neat.
And it's also little things like whenever we don't do it often, but we'll occasionally have a roast chicken, and we boil the bones and we make stock. We've got a stock bag in the freezer that we just stick all the odds and ends of everything in. We make this great big thing of stock and have ramen, sort of once a month or something like that. Maybe not that often. But also, I will reserve the fat from things. I won't just throw it away, So I'll be, got some, even if it's something that would otherwise be vegetarian, as opposed to wasting it, I might use some of the schmaltz from the chicken, for example. Sorry?
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm so glad that we converted this vegetarian chat into we can now talk about Alex's cooking because you cook quite a bit.
It's a good segue.
I do cook a lot. I cook. The main evening meals. Sasha cooks occasionally, but it's generally the weekend. It's not an issue because I love cooking, and I think she feels very lucky that she happens to have found a partner who loves cooking as much as I do because it means she doesn't have to bother. She can sit at the breakfast bar, drinking a beer, and watching me. But then she also really likes cooking herself when she's got the time. So again, weekends and things like that. In fact, this weekend she's making a mushroom risotto, and I'm really looking forward to it because it's bloody good.
Ooh, that sounds great.
It is. It's vegetarian, but not vegan. And we'll do all sorts. We've made our own gyoza, and we freeze them. We've got loads in the freezer.
Nice.
Our freezer is stocked with meals that we've made, and things like I made a vegetarian lasagna. A vegetable lasagna, I suppose. It's not like using any meat replacement products. It's just vegetables. That was honestly fantastic. I had to go a little bit heavier with the spices, as you often do with vegetarian food, because the meat makes up a lot of the body and the flavor of a meat-based dish. And so if you're trying to recreate something similar or, a similar style dish, you have to be a little bit more creative, which is also really good fun. I love the challenge as well. I had to make gluten-free bread a number of months ago. That is weird. Have either of you ever made gluten-free bread?
No. My dad's a big bread maker, but he's never tried gluten-free.
Yeah, Fallon really likes making bread
I like
too,
the
but
idea
I don't
that
think
your
has.
father is just this giant machine that makes bread automatically. You don't make a dough with gluten-free bread. You make a batter.
Oh, weird. And then So what do you do? So I've never made bread before at all. I mean, I guess I've watched Fallon, but where do you go from there?
Usually you'd make a dough, you bring it together, you let it rise and all that sort of thing. With this, with gluten-free bread, at least the one that I've done, maybe there are others out there that use dough. It just doesn't have gluten in it. You have to make the batter, you have to let it rest and let it rise. And the yeast that I used was pretty old. I seriously need to get some new yeast. And it is just so bizarre, and it takes so long to cook as a result. The end result, the friend who I was making it for said it was the best gluten-free bread she'd ever had, which I was really
nice.
I was really chuffed by. It was a sort of focaccia. I wasn't completely satisfied with it. It was a little bit too much like a giant Yorkshire pudding for me, and I love Yorkshire puddings, but that's not what I was aiming for.
It's good you have a guinea pig now, though, if you want to make more and test it out. And try my bread, please. How is it?
One thing we haven't talked about too much is Xeon. I mean, we've focused on your vegetarianism, but your core interests. And one thing I'm really jealous of with you, I'm an untalented man. I don't have very many raw talents.
Oh, God, John, have you seen the time code?
Sing.
Sorry, John, you need to say the name of the game quickly.
Sonic and All Stars, bro. You sing Transform.
Good,
there we go.
Okay,
job,
that was a close
please continue.
But yeah, as a kid, I would draw. I'd draw Sonic and Toon Link, and that was about it. I couldn't draw anything else. I can't sing. But you're part of a band. You're part of Constance, which is a pretty huge thing.
I will say that I was never in choir or anything in high school. I never took any. I mean, beyond. I mean, I was in a band in middle school, but I played the drums very poorly, and I fumbled my way through xylophone during a school concert. Oh, that was so bad. I just hit random notes. Like, I wish I was kidding, but so I've never actually, I think I did have someone next to me that was also supposed to be playing the same thing or something similar, so I just I looked over at them to see what they were playing, but of course that didn't work, like how I can't even imagine how bad it must have sounded. But yeah, so I have no training beyond just like me practicing, singing something, finding out if it sounds good or not. Oftentimes I'm flat or sharp when it comes to recording, and I don't even know it, But yeah, I've been singing in Constance for, oh my gosh, like 6 years now, maybe. It's been so long. The pandemic kind of wiped us out a little bit, but we still played a show last year, an outdoor festival, and we've been like mildly trying to record new music, but it's harder now because I'm from Wisconsin originally, which is many, many miles away from where I live now. And so we've recorded some things online, but it's just not as easy to just go to our friend's house that we would record at. Hello, Evan, by the way, if you're listening. And we would record there, all as like a big group, and the guys would give me feedback, or I would give feedback to them during their parts. And but yeah, we played a lot of shows, and and for anyone who's interested, yeah, go look up Constance on YouTube, or we're on Spotify and Apple Music. Yeah, I sing, and when I say I sing, I sing I sing a nice melody, but I also scream as well. So if you're into metal, you'll dig it, or come let me know if you think we sound like crap and I need to improve, because I'll take that too. But yeah, we've been doing it a long time. And it's a lot of fun. I miss playing shows so much. There's like something about like being on stage and the energy and like dancing around and just being a goofball and cracking jokes. Did I ever tell you guys I probably didn't. So this is good. This is a good moment. The first show that Constance ever played was the year, I think it was 2015. So I guess, yeah, we've been around for 6 years, because it was before I went to E3. And so I had like video games were just like hardcore on my brain, and that was the first year I went to E3 as well. And I was so nervous during our show that in between, I think the guys were guitar changing or maybe changing their tuning or something, and there was an extended period that I needed to chat with the crowd. And I kid you not, I like just nervously asked the crowd if any of them played video games. And I don't even remember where I went with that. I mean, we have
any of you guys have games on your phone?
Yeah, basic the equivalent of that. I was just like trying to find something to talk with the crowd about, and maybe it's we've over the years we've wrote a few songs about video games, so maybe that was what I was trying to segue into. Like, we have a song called Anna, which is not online right now because we're actually re-recording it, and it sounds so cool. I'm really so excited for everybody to hear that. But we wrote it about the expansion for BioShock Infinite, the Burial at Sea expansion. So Alex, you might like, I should send it to you, Alex, so you can check it out. But yeah, lyrically, it's all written from well, I guess actually it's a split. It's a split between like Elizabeth and the other. I won't spoil anything. I'll just leave it at that. But then we also wrote a song called Blackwell, and that's written all about Life is Strange. And
awesome.
Yeah, and so I love to like tap into media that I enjoy. Like we also wrote a song about the first Alien movie, which is like a split between a perspective of from the perspective of Ridley and the Xenomorph, and we called it Isolation. Because I was playing, I might have been playing Alien Isolation at the time, or I just thought that was a good fit for it. But and not all of our songs are written about movies and games and stuff. We have things that touch on other topics, but I love like finding something else to write about that I'm not a part of. Like something that doesn't have to do with something that happened in my life or something like that. A concept song, right? But yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe we're 15 minutes into this video. We're only just mentioning this, which
geez.
is major. Like this
Well, thanks.
this is like one of the coolest things.
Well, that's so nice of you. I mean, well, we've never, like, we're not like on a record label or anything like that. We have a few music videos that we worked with a guy named Eddie Coran, and he's such a skilled like video editor and just photographer. He's amazing. And so we've made a lot of moves to, like, I think make ourselves look maybe big online or something, but like and when I say we played a festival as well, it was a big deal for us. But it wasn't like it's not like we played like Vans Warped Tour or something. We're playing to thousands of people. I think we played to a couple hundred people, which I mean is still, maybe I'm trying to, I don't know. I'm very proud of everything we've done, but I never want to. I always just try to stay so humble about it, I suppose, and like, and
you're the most humble. No one's ever been as humble as you.
Maybe too humble, maybe to a fault sometimes, but it's, I guess it was the thing that you were like, oh, this is so cool, John, and I'm like, it is cool, but I'm not the cool one, like the band is cool, but that's
a good way of looking at it.
Yeah,
I think that's a fault of mine as well. Like, I hate talking about myself. I hate talking, like, even just talking about my interests. I don't like doing it. So whenever, like, you go to a group and they're like, oh, let's go around a circle and say something about yourself.
Oh no!
Even if there's something cool to say, I hate doing it. I just don't like bringing any attention to myself.
In that spirit, John, we've been hearing about you. You said very self-deprecatingly that you're not a talented person like Xeon, which I feel is very unfair. And I'm going to channel my inner Mr. Bergstrom and ask you what is your talent? You must be able to do something better than anyone else. What is it, John? Talk about you. We're here for you.
Yeah, John,
I
we love you.
legit don't think I have one.
Oh no!
Oh, everyone has a talent, you fool. You haven't watched that episode of The Simpsons.
Because what we could do is we could each say something nice about each other, which sounds so dumb. That's like that. But I think for John, like you say that you have no talents, but I think that you have a way of very eloquently speaking about, actually both of you do. Both of you are such great speakers, and I come from a perspective of I feel like I'm not as good, and so I kind of look up to both of you in that regard, and like, the way that you can carry a podcast style discussion like this, or the way that you're both so knowledgeable on so many of the topics that you speak on. And I think, like, you may not look at that as talents or skills, but you've definitely, like, invested your lives into just learning how to communicate with people. And I think that is something that don't take it for granted. Like you have a real passion for the things that you guys speak about, and the way that you convey yourselves as well. Like I love talking with you guys. It's like that's one of my favorite hobbies, because I get to listen to you guys all the time. And I'm not. So
I'd say the same for you too. Like when you're passionate about something, it's electrifying. You can feel it. You can feel just that burn to want to talk about it. And there's so many topics. Like so many YouTubers out there who have. They kind of do their videos because they have to. And we all do at some point. But when you really feel passionate about something, it's just contagious. And there's little else that comes close to that.
I feel it a lot in your production as well, Xeon. Like when you've got an idea, you've got a seed of an idea, all of the intros you do and things like that to the monthly games videos that we do. You've got that little sort of idea and you build on it and you let it flourish. And like the October one especially, you've got this level of production that I am constantly trying to match. And
oh man,
I feel I'm sort of saying to myself, maybe I could be as good as Xeon if I had better lights. But a lot of it is down to your eye. You've got a very good eye for things like lighting and just composition generally.
Thanks, guys. That means
and
so
John,
much.
you're
so
one
nice.
of the most agreeable people. The only time I've ever heard you not be up for something, be it in work or otherwise, is because you've got commitments with your child. And, I'm not going to hold it against you forever. No, your child always comes first. But it's always like, hey, John, I've got an idea for a video. And you're like, yeah, sure, let's do it. I'm free now. Somehow.
That's true.
Excellent.
Honestly, yeah, I feel the same way about John as well. You're just down to do whatever, and that's always so That's cool. Like, especially when someone has like a big idea that we're like one of us is passionate about, and I think I try to do that with you, John, though too. Now that I think about it, like because you're so kind about making sure that our ideas don't fall flat. That's a good point, Alex. Thanks, John.
One big thing about Alex too is he basically made this whole channel. I know there was stuff before.
Dude, for real.
So there was stuff before Alex came along, but he really cemented it as what it is today. And without him here, none of this would be happening right now. And he held on to that for a long time on his own, which is something that's very, very tough to do. Not only building it, but just maintaining it on a daily basis. Like that's fully commendable.
Oh,
yeah, all by
you.
yourself. Like, I mean, of course you had like the editorial team and like other people to talk with and stuff. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, I watched you for years before being on the channel, and every day it's still. I shouldn't say every day, but oftentimes I'll sit back and be like, wow, I'm part of this team with these guys making videos. Like, what is this? Is this the Matrix? Is this all like is this something I fabricated? Are John and Alex even actually real? Or did I make them up too? We're
very real, and we're here today. I don't know where I was going with that. I thought I'd have something better.
It is weird to think that we are here where we are now. Because as a kid, I'd do a lot of videos on my own YouTube channel. Like I had multiple YouTube channels as a child. Like one would just be off camera on a CRT where I just film some glitch or something. I love making videos about the dumbest stuff.
Are those
Sometimes
channels
games.
still around? Can we find them?
Maybe? I'm not entirely sure. I've definitely had more than 5.
oh my goodness.
One was just dumb skits with friends. Others were just when I was like 11, just doing YouTube videos about games. Lots like Mario 64 stuff. And I think it's weird to just think over time that we've actually become professional in a sense. And I look back a lot.
Feel
like,
professional.
How did we get here?
Do you know what I mean?
No.
Yeah.
I don't feel like an adult most of the time.
I used to make videos in high school as well. That was like one thing that it was one of my main hobbies. Like people at school would know. They knew that I made videos, and we would look. I assumed that everybody enjoyed them, but they didn't. They shouldn't have. Some of them were really, really stupid. But I ended up actually at one point chatting with like a college out in, might have been like California or something, all about going to learn more about photography and videography, and I never did. But yeah, it's like the perspective of knowing that, some of us have been interested in like those things for years, and now we just do this all the time, and it's a real gift. It really is.
It's a right laugh.
Yeah. Like your Christmas video, Alex. I can't believe it. It's ridiculous. I love it so much. I really do.
That took me so long to make. I was thinking, I don't want this video to be any more than like 2 minutes long. And it got to like 50 minutes with the outro, and I was like, no, this is it. This is all I can do. I'm going to bed. Well, I didn't go to bed. I logged on and did this video because I completed it the same day as we're recording this.
The other crazy thing too, to quick mention, is that we work for Nintendo Life, right? Nintendo Life's a fairly like I feel like we are kind of like the online version of Nintendo Power these days, because like we're very humorous in our writing, and we just we get to have a laugh.
We are humorous.
We're silly people. We let it hang out. It's all right. And but then we still talk about very serious subjects. Like if Nintendo does something we don't like, or we're talking about the news. But then we still get to do something like what you just did for Christmas here, and it's okay. It's like it has nothing. It really has nothing to do with games, and we have a community that will like hang by us and watch it, and some will like it, some won't, and we just like we have this community of people to just still enjoy the stupid things that we put on the internet. And I'm saying with that with so much love, Alex, because I will call so many of the things I make stupid, but because that it's the way.
The Christmas video is tremendously stupid, and I love it.
Okay, good. But yeah, it's so cool that we have all these people that will hang out and watch us and support us, and thanks for sticking with us over all these years, just of giving you Nintendo news and
sticking with me.
Yeah, of course.
But look at the time, commenter and viewers. It's your bedtime. So we're going to tuck you into bed. Come on, everyone. Pull up the duvet.
99. It's ASMR time.
But John, Daddy John, can you read me a story first?
Okay, Zion. One talent I do have. I can recite the Gruffalo and the Gruffalo's Child from memory. If you want me to do that right now,
I've never heard that.
It'll take about 20 minutes.
You're very good at just going with things on the fly as well. Like, if I say, John, tell me a story. If we'd had the time, you probably would have told Zion a story.
Yeah, did you say,
Yeah.
Was that a 20-minute story you have committed to memory?
Yeah, Zion, I read it every day. Sometimes I read it.
You read it before you had a child.
We actually did. We read to Roxy's tummy while she was pregnant
nice.
a lot.
That's adorable.
But anyway, the commenters and the viewers are in bed right now. We're tucking them in. So, nighty-night, commenters and viewers.
Nighty-night.
Remember to press that subscribe button.
I
In the
really
morning,
wish
when
I
you wake
could have
up.
remembered the Polish, don't let the bed bugs bite that Sasha taught me. Apparently, I didn't retain it.
That's okay. It's bedtime now, Alex. Shh. Go to bed.
Nintendo Life, it's bedtime now.
It sounds like we're murdering Alex. It's bedtime now.
Bye!
Bye.
Bye-bye.